Hi, and welcome to the Neoprene Playmat. I'm your host, Matt Piak, and today we're going to be looking at a box. I know that's a little different for laying it all out. Typically, it's just me here spitting things out, but I wanted to give you an upfront look at Super Fantasy Brawl. This isn't your typical unboxing, though. I'm not going through for the first time showing you new components or anything of that matter. Actually, I will be really reacting almost to kind of how disappointed I am with some of the pieces of this box. Now, before getting too deep into it, I do want to say Super Fantasy Brawl is probably going to be my favorite game of 2020. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I've played it a ton. I absolutely love it. And so when I criticize this box and get angry about this box, it's not a shot at Mythic Games. It's not a shot at the game as a whole, but it's just about being critical of things so that we can learn, grow, and develop, pointing out things that maybe could have been conducted in a way that would have provided a better experience for the user. And so with that said, let's hop over to the top-down camera. All right, guys, so let's get to unboxing this behemoth. So, as I said, I have lots of problems with this box, but that said, there are some good things too. So I'm going to try and highlight both as I go throughout, kind of say what they did right and where I think there could definitely be a lot of improvement. This honestly was one of the most disappointing boxes I feel like they could have produced. And that means a lot because I absolutely love this game. As I said before, it's going to be probably my favorite for 2020. And the miniatures are great and the components are great, but I do feel like they left so much to be desired in this box. So let's get into it. Let's just open this thing up. All right. So one thing you'll notice is how deep this box is. This box is super thick. And I really don't think it needed to be that thick. I'll get to how they could have flattened the box out in a little bit. But what I've noticed is already, because of how long this box top is here, how long this piece is, I'm already getting indentations. I don't know if you can, how well you can see that, but it's starting to indent. It's starting to peel. There's just a lot, like this lid does not take a lot of force on top. I haven't really even put anything on it, but I feel like there's almost like a twisting because they had to put a little gap for the air to come in. So the box, it doesn't fit 100% tight either on the corners because otherwise you would never be able to get the lid off. So it's smart on them to create that, but when you have this much length, it creates almost it creates more leverage, which creates more torque, and so the top can twist a lot more. All right, so getting into it, here's the instructions. I've already played this a bunch, so this isn't like an initial unboxing or anything, but if we look in these are actually really fantastic trays in that it's very solid plastic. It's kind of, you see how it's got a little bend to it? Sometimes these inserts will crack and stuff when you do that. And then on top of it, if you can see this little lip here, that's going to be great for letting this snap on, right? So I can push all these in, and look, nothing falls out. Really good design there. And I've already heard some people questioning too, why is there so much space around this miniature? Why is this all indented? Well, there's a good reason for that. In shipping, this sort of indentation, when there's this much space, is required for rigidity purpose. If they were to make this flush, all of this flush, and just kind of come up, these, I guarantee you, would be cracked through on the top from when it shifts and things in shipping. So those are good, but they didn't need to do this. They could have had more miniatures in here, and by having more miniatures in there, you would actually have more rigidity built in because you would have more of these curves built in. You wouldn't have to make artificial curves to create that effect. And all of them have one guy turned this way. And that's probably because he's one of the bigger miniatures, but that's not the case with all of the miniatures that are in that orientation. Now, if you guys remember the campaign, Mythic Games was pushing that this was going to be a tournament game, a game that could be played competitively, that there would be meetups for. I know COVID has probably slowed that down. But if you've read through the competitive rules of this game, it requires that you have 5 miniatures. Okay? That's a serious problem when you look at how these are built. Number one, these are built custom for every single miniature. You can see there's a little design imprinted here, and that signals, oh, this is Darren's spot. That's where she goes. Okay? Unfortunately, that means if I pick a hero, let's say I go 2 heroes from this tray, 1 hero, let me pop this together before I make a mess here. Let's say I go 2 heroes from this tray, 1 hero from this tray, 1 hero from this tray, and 1 hero from this tray. I got to bring this entire box to a tournament. This thing is huge. I have this Geek On bag. I'll show you a picture of what my Geek On bag can hold. This box does not fit in that bag. That bag can hold Gloomhaven plus a bunch of other games with Gloomhaven. This box is that big, okay? So that means I have to figure out a way to tote this from tournament to tournament if I want to do tournament play. With these custom inserts, what they should have done is, and this would have affected the sculpts, I realize that. We can't have everything we want, but even if the sculpts were a little closer, they could have made generic impressions, okay? So essentially one that every single character could fit in. If you've ever played Mechs and Minions, all of the minions, they're in, I think they have 5 or 6 different unique positions, but they all fit in the exact same type of tray, meaning it doesn't matter where you put them. If they made these trays, let's say instead of running this way, they had them run this way, and they were 5 long and condensed this, because this is longer than it needs to be for 3. You could then put any of your 5 heroes or champions into one of these trays, grab one of the component trays here, one of these guys, let's see, here we go, one of these guys, and that's all you'd need for a tournament play. That's all you'd have to bring. And if you needed a mat, you could wrap your neoprene mat around it, and you're good to go. Maybe you don't want to do that, but regardless, it would solve the issue. You could literally show up to any tournament with just your insert of 5 guys, and you wouldn't have to haul this beast around. All right. So another problem with these, I'm gonna go keep ranting here on the heroes. So they did a wonderful thing here. If you see, this is really deep. Okay, and that's great because that means when you have another one, they fit on top of each other and they hold each other securely when things are shaking, when things are moving. Okay, well, if you have that on your bottom one too, look at how much space you don't need to use. In fact, this compromises the rigidity of the bottom tray here. And at first I was thinking, okay, well, they need to make a universal tray. It's probably cheaper for production if they don't have different layers or thicknesses and things. But they've already gone ahead and made all of the inserts different by having different shapes for the different individuals. So how much more difficult would it be to just say, hey, these ones aren't as deep? I'm not on the manufacturing end, so I actually don't know the answer to that question. But I'm thinking you could save maybe 1.5 inches, which would have cut the thickness of the box down, which would then prevent the issue that we talked about earlier, where it gets a lot of torque on it as it's being pulled on and off because it's so long, it's so deep, right? Then we have these pillars. These are in here nicely. I have no complaints about that. seems like a good use of space. Once again, it has this deep cove so that it can fit over the top of this one. Once again, that's a good design. That means it's not going to slide around any. But then we have a whole nother statue. And his part's just empty. He's just kind of floating around in here. There's nothing there. They couldn't use that space for anything. That seems surprising to me. I think they could cut this down or make a different type of tray or make it hold maybe some other component in there. And once again, save on space. Again, we don't need two that are this deep. Only one of them needs to be that deep. So you could have taken a whole nother inch off this box. Now, what they might say is, well, the reason we didn't do that is because we wanted 3 of these to fit, and these have a lower profile, which is true, okay? I understand that, but let's be serious. These are a waste of space. You have 3 rings here, 3 rings here, 3 rings there, 3 rings there. They literally could have taken the bottom of this and made a little divot. I'm sorry, I'm dropping everything. But just to hold the rings all the way across. Do that twice, fills up this entire space. And you actually don't need this tray in here at all. All these other components that are in here actually would fit in here. You just consolidate these damage tokens over here, and then you could put the cores in the other one, and that would work. That would fill the case. I'm assuming you would put this coin in with the rings on the statue, but then you would eliminate an entire tray. Once again, be able to drop the depth, drop the amount of plastic you're using, which, let's be serious, some of these games have so much plastic. That was actually one of the things I liked about this game, was I felt like they were a bunch of high quality miniatures rather than 8 gajillion miniatures, right? Like, I liked the idea of having the size of a nice one. And so I wish they would have just reduced maybe some of the plastic they have. And as you can see, I have all the punch boards still full. I have the custom tokens. I have a neoprene mat. So I don't actually use any of this. I will punch it out at some point because I plan on playing 2 games at the same time. And because I got the neoprene mat, I'll be able to facilitate that. But once again, it just seems like there's a bit of a waste of space in this box in its entirety. And I seem to have misplaced the lid here. Let's see. They're all the same size and shape. That is something I like because they're interchangeable. So that was well done. So I can put this back in here. All right. So I have one more major complaint about this box. And when looking at it, actually, I probably should pull all of these out. You might not see this as a major issue, and I didn't at first either, but it quickly became one. So game trays are meant to come in and out of the box. They're an insert that doesn't stay set in there, right? Which means you're dragging them up and down and up and down, which is fine, which works. But when you have a sticker that ends here, once again, it probably ended here because the cost of running a sticker all the way down this massive of a box had to have been enormously expensive. So I don't fault them. I'm not mad that this isn't covered with something. But in the corners, you can kind of see it. I will see if I can get a better angle for you. Let's see. This corner kind of is coming up. It's not super flush against the box like it should be. It's not at a perfect 90-degree angle here. And so as I'm sliding these in and out, which have a little bit of a lip over here, they're actually dragging across that, which is causing it to lift up off the box. Over time, that's going to create... it's going to essentially start tearing the box apart, and the sticker's going to start peeling. And once that starts happening, I mean, you got to do a glue job or something before it gets out of hand, because otherwise it's going to be ridiculous to kind of handle, to mess around with. It's going to just rip off the front of the box, which is something we definitely don't want to see. So overall, I'm super happy with this game. I really, really enjoy the product they came out with. But this box, it's not usable in a like it's not practical at all. It's super great for marketing because I guarantee you anybody that walks in and sees my shelf, they will be super impressed with just the sheer size of this, the way it sits and the way it looks on my shelf. They're going to say, what the heck is that game? It looks awesome. And so kudos for them for doing that. But the problem I ultimately see is that this box was more about aesthetics and marketing than it was about practicality. I honestly think this is going to be too difficult to play in tournament style. So I know COVID's going on right now, and I was excited to kind of just check out the tournament scene, see what it was. But I don't know how I'm going to do that. I really don't have a great way of transporting this except for just chucking it in my car, which is fine. I've done that with a lot of different board games. But once again, the size of this box and the relative thickness versus the length means that when it's moving around, it creates a lot of torque and a lot of bend. And so I'm just worried that I'm going to end up ruining my box trying to travel with it, rather than just grabbing, one of the game trays that I thought was going to work really well for tournament play. That was one of the reasons I was so excited about it, was I was like, oh, this is great. They're going to give us a big old box, and then we can just grab it and bring that in. And as I'm putting the lid on, I just remembered one of my last points. I don't know if you've seen this. They used this entire massive box to hold everything from Kickstarter, all of this extra stuff. Yet they couldn't fit 3 more miniatures in there. Once again, this goes back to the insert design. They're way too huge. Now, this comes with a very nice game tray, and I'm very happy about this. Like, it's a nice production. This is a very nice, reasonable size container. But once again, it only holds 3 heroes or champions. And so I'm not going to be able to carry just this box. I was hoping, when I saw it came in 2 boxes, I was like, sweet, I'll be able to throw everything into this box. And I'll just be able to bring that to tournaments. But in reading through the rules and finding out exactly what that looks like, this box won't even work for that. So I don't understand what the thinking was behind this big box. Anywho, those are my thoughts here directly on the box. I'm going to add a little bit more once I get back to the studio space to just rehash and talk a little bit. But I wanted to make sure I gave you kind of the close-up look here at all the components, and that way you could really tell what my frustrations were. So let's go back to the studio. All right, welcome back to Neoprene Playmat Studio over here. So I hope that was insightful. I hope being able to see the box from the top down and really go through those explanations was helpful. But I did want to touch on one last thing before I close this out. I want designers and it's publishers. Designers usually have minimal impact on what the box looks like. So publishers, when you manufacture a big box, the idea of a big box, the reason people want a big box is so that all of the content fits in that big box. We want to get the base game and have a bunch of empty space in there. I know that makes shipping a nightmare. I know that makes things it makes things difficult because you have to come up with a way to make that box more rigid when there's nothing inside. You have to pack it with foam or make a really complex insert to give the box more rigidity. And so that makes sense. But here, I don't think this giant box was needed. We know there's going to be expansions. They're already advertising 2 new heroes that are going to come out, or champions. I'm sorry, I keep using the term heroes. But we already know there's 2 more champions that are on their way. I've seen them on Miniature Market, pre-order, and They're elsewhere on the internet already as well. We know there's going to be more coming. They're not all going to fit in that box. I would have loved to see if they took Super Fantasy Brawl and made series boxes with them. Have 4 boxes. That's totally okay. Each box has 5 champions in it, or at least a holder for 5 champions. Because I think I want to say that all included, there's like 18 or something like that. So it wouldn't fit 4 boxes with 5, but have an insert that holds the 5 individuals in there. Have them marked as a series. That way on the board game shelf, they look great. You know, you have 1, 2, 3, 4. People will walk in and say, "Wow, you have a lot of the content for that game. What is it? I'm interested." It doesn't need to be this colossal sized box. But big boxes can be nice too. But that's when they can hold all of the content that's ever been created for the game. Clearly, that's not what's going on here. And that box is bigger than most big boxes. It's immense. It's just too large. It's not practical at all. And maybe the point was to make it so that it wasn't practical, to make it large and obnoxious. I mean, the theme is pretty in your face as well, but from a fan side of things, from somebody that really wanted to get into this, not only at a casual level, but also looking to possibly play competitively, I would have loved to see an insert that was built for that had those generic spots, that was able to carry each different miniature in it, that had 5 spots, so that I only had to bring one row to a tournament and not haul around this giant 20-pound box. That said, some of the components are great. The miniatures are great. The tokens are great. A lot of the production is really good, and the game trays are high quality. The plastic is a high quality plastic. The lids snap on really well. You can turn it upside down and nothing falls out. That's even with the heavier stuff like the cards and things. So like they made a lot of good decisions in making this box. And so maybe now you're thinking about my title, my clickbait, right? Worst game box ever. And maybe it was a little bit clickbaity. I will admit it. But at the same time, I had such high expectations. This game is so great, and it's one that I will be playing for years. It's not going anywhere on my shelf. Honestly, it might be in my top 10 games. I haven't played it enough to really know if it's going to stay there, but it is phenomenal. And so my hopes were just a little bit higher for what they could have delivered on this box. As always, let me know what your thoughts are. Have you gotten this box? Do you like it? Am I not seeing something? Do you have similar complaints? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this content, please subscribe. Otherwise, have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye.